There are a ton of hidden details in the Assassin's Creed Shadows reveal trailer, including a tease for who the Templars will probably be in this game, interesting info on parkour, plus we learned about the spy system and way more. Of course, if you are curious or hyped about Assassin's Creed Shadows, leave a like and let's go. So one interesting thing I noticed in the reveal trailer was the sail on one of the black ships. These are of course the Portuguese, but you can see a Christian cross on the sails of one of the black ships in the trailer. It's not a Templar cross, mind you, but as we learned in Valhalla, the creation of the Templars ties them deeply to the Catholic Church. And this is one of the ships Yasuke, our samurai protagonist, traveled on to come to Japan together with a group of Jesuits. Jesuits are part of the Catholic Church with a big focus on education and sharing the message of Christ across the world. This includes Japan, as we both see in the trailer and know from historical accounts, meaning it is perfectly possible that they are emissaries sent by the Templars in AC's version of history. As noted by IGN, we see them sitting here in the room when Yasuke meets Oda Nobunaga, as indicated by their clothing. Even in real history, the Jesuits got into trouble for meddling with political affairs, so I definitely think that in this story, they are Templars trying to gain control over Japan. Which makes it likely that some of them will show up as an assassination target for Yasuke and Naoe. Because yes, Order assassinations are back in a big way, meaning you'll have a list of targets that you'll need to track down and eliminate. We learned that Shadows features a non-linear campaign largely focused on targets, and Ubisoft says that you will be free to track these targets in any order, which makes it sound like clearing this assassination list is our top priority. Like with Odyssey and Valhalla, some of your targets are just roaming the world, meaning you can just come across them and even accidentally kill them without doing any prior research. But some are more well hidden, meaning you need to track down their hideout and infiltrate it before you can get to them. The associated quest will also guide you towards your target with hints, so instead of a pinpoint marker leading you right to the target, you'll need to find them in a designated location. We actually see this in the trailer as well, where Naoe retrieves a note that reads the enemy is in Takeda Castle, northwest of Kyoto. We do of course need to discover clues that reveal the identity of our target, and that's going to work quite different from Odyssey and Valhalla. In those games you could find a lot of clues in the environment, like a letter revealing more info on a cultist. But it sounds like in Shadows you'll instead use your own network of spies to gather information. Want to talk more about that in a bit, but the trailer already suggests that members of your spy network can pass along information to help you locate an assassination target. And the less handholdy quest objectives mean that part of an infiltration or assassination is left up to your imagination, and it sounds like we're going back to a more black box style design where you have multiple different ways in which you can take a target out. Creative director Jonathan Dumont told IGN that there are options to be able to take targets down and having some negatives and sometimes some surprises. While we have no specific examples of those negatives, I can imagine that some approaches can lead to the guards sounding the alarm after you've killed your target, making an escape much more difficult. I'm especially curious how playing a different character will open up new options, because as we know, Naoe has much more stealthy abilities that can make infiltrating an enemy base or hideout a lot easier. And speaking of Naoe, while she was written for the game, her family makes her a pretty important historical figure as well. Her father, Fujibayashi Nagato, was considered one of the greatest Jonin, which is the highest rank a ninja or shinobi can achieve. So Naoe has learned her assassin skills from one of the best in the business. What's even more interesting is that Nagato's descendants went on to contribute to a book called the Bansen Shukai, which is a collection of ninja practices and knowledge from the Iga and Koga regions. In a previous video, Jordan mentioned that active skills are once again found in the world similar to Valhalla, but instead of the books of knowledge we found in that game, we learned them through something called ninja scrolls. So high chance this is related to the Bansen Shukai, and that by collecting these different techniques, Naoe is laying the groundwork for later generations to complete the book. But next to active abilities, there will also be regular skills for both characters you can unlock, and the Ultimate Edition of the game actually includes 5 extra skill points. We are doing a giveaway for that edition, link is in the pinned comment, and make sure you're a subscriber if you want to participate. Of course, subscribing is also great so you don't miss any info on the game. Now let's talk about Naoe's skill set some more, with the key thing that sets her apart from Yasuke being her grappling hook. She can use it to scale walls and reach new areas that way, and I could totally see it being a tool needed to get to some ninja scrolls that have skills specifically for her. But what I found very interesting is that it can also be a very useful tool indoors, as Naoe can use it to slip into a ceiling space above a corridor to hide there. So almost like Spidey can zip up to a ceiling to hide from the bad guys, you can use Naoe's grappling hook to quickly hide above your enemies when infiltrating a castle, for example. However, using this tool is apparently not without risks because it's all physics based, so there is a little bit of improbability sometimes when using it. I think this means fall damage is back, and extending the rope too far so you hit the ground or swinging towards a wall too fast should damage you. Could be something else as well, like maybe there are enemies that can counter your grappling hook by cutting the rope, but that is just speculation. Either way, the grappling hook isn't the only difference in parkour between Yasuke and Naoe, as their style of parkour is also very different, or at least that's what it sounds like. Game director Charles Benoit mentioned to Famitsu that Yasuke can also perform parkour very efficiently in a more daring way, which again implies that he moves differently than Naoe does. What's even more interesting though is that the crowd will respond differently to Yasuke doing parkour because of his status. Because he is a samurai, he's expected to behave with a sense of dignity, and climbing rooftops doesn't really fit that sense of dignity. So when Yasuke is jumping and climbing between buildings, people will react more surprised and unsettled when compared to them seeing Naoe do parkour. IGN noted that this difference between the two also translates to social stealth, with Naoe having a much easier time blending in with crowds because they're not perceived as someone of a high social status, but Yasuke definitely is. I do wonder if there's also a flip side to this system, like maybe Yasuke can enter certain areas because of his social status where Naoe has to sneak her way in. But as I mentioned earlier, the two won't be working alone, as you'll be building up a spy network over the course of the game that feeds you information. The game's official website tells us, build your network of spies to be your eyes and ears across locations to unveil new areas and hunt down your next target. Along the way, recruit several allies with highly specialized skills and abilities to help accomplish your missions. I think some bits of this need clarification, like I don't think discovering areas here means unlocking new parts of the map. Instead, I think your spy network can help reveal new points of interest, as these no longer automatically pop up on the map after interacting with a synchronization point. But as I noted earlier in the video, your spy network does seem to play an integral part in tracking down assassination targets, and we learned from IGN that you actually need to send them out on missions to gather intelligence. It's all sounding somewhat similar to the Los Bandidos feature from Far Cry 6, although we've of course also seen similar systems in previous AC games like Brotherhood and Black Flag. Most of these minigames require a lot of waiting though, so I imagine they're looking at a different gameplay loop if your spy network plays a key role in gathering info for assassinations. I'm also fairly certain that your spies can assist you outside of simple information gathering, as there are several mentions of you being able to call on allies to help you out. It immediately brings to mind the call to arms ability from Odyssey, but we'll have to wait and see if that's actually how it works. What we do know is that your spies and other allies you make along the way will come together in your hideout, which is the evolution of Valhalla settlement system. The game's product description notes we're able to train our crew here, which suggests more depth to the spy network system than something like Los Bandidos. Valhalla did of course have the Jomsviking barracks, but apart from their effective level, most Vikings were effectively the same. So I hope that training our crew also gives us the option to specialize our spies and give them different skill sets. We have a ton more info on Assassin's Creed Shadow coming your way, so subscribe to not miss our next video, and remember to leave a like if you enjoyed this one. You can also watch our previous video with info on special weapons, switching between characters and more by clicking on the screen. I'll see you in the next one, goodbye.